already to nighttime. No. Dang, the sun is right going down. What is up, Duzor Dreams, or Tim here, showing you guys an overdue video on how to use a longsword. Now, this is actually one of my most favorite weapons in the game. It's the weapon I sort of started out with in World. So I use this weapon for a long time already, and I think it's time to show the newcomers, or if you're someone who's been playing the games, it's time to just show you the basics if you're just wanting to try out a new weapon and have something fun to use, something stylish. And I think it's overall a good all-around weapon, but it's also, I think this is one of the weapons that's very traditional in Monster Hunter, because a lot of the veterans always say it's always about dancing with the monster. And the longsword is really about that, since its bread and butter for its, when you're in combat, is knowing how to counter and knowing how to flow with the monster, and utilizing all its DPS as you can. Oh, we're about to have a concert. Dang, that's unfortunate because I have to make this guide video. No disrespect to the diva. Well, we gotta make this already, but oh my god, look how gorgeous this whole scene is along with the diva. Oh, I'm being left out without the buff. No wonder everyone is here. So let's just go to the training area before I get really distracted. The reason why the longsword is one of my favorite weapons, because it's not only mobile, because you could actually move around with this sword and roll around with it. Have some movement compared to the other weapons where you typically would have to sheath. Here, you don't necessarily have to sheath. I still sheath anyway, because even sheathing this weapon is pretty quick. Because when you're like maneuvering around the monster, you typically don't want to carry your weapon like this. Never don't. You never don't. You always want to sheath your weapon every time you want to make some movement, and then initiate the monster again by coming up to it and sheathing your weapon and initiating like some sort of hit. That's what I typically do, but I mean, there are moments where sometimes, yeah, you don't want to sheath your weapon and you could roll around comfortably and move around comfortably, which is one of my favorite weapons I like, which is why I say this is a all-around weapon, because it could do DPS, you could maneuver with this weapon. And although you don't necessarily have defense with it, its true defense is actually utilizing its counters, which we'll talk about later. So let's just talk about the simple combos that you can do. So let's start with just pressing triangle. If you press 3 triangles, so you have a 3-jab combo by just pressing triangle, and you do good amount of damage, right? I mean, coming up to the monster, and if you bonk the head by just doing an overhead slash, there is a possibility where the monster does get somewhat stunned, or it does take some damage. And it also depends what build you have, but typically, like, I mean, I even do this on Monster Hunter GU, which is the old school Monster Hunter game. Kinda, you could say. It's the game before World got released. I always aim for the head every time I initiate a fight, just because I'm able to stun the monster like that, or just do decent amount of damage. They do get like some sort of like a little stun. I wouldn't say like it's like the hammer or great sword or whatever, but you know, it's a good start for a hunt. But typically I don't use the overhead slash, just because the longsword is actually a weapon where you could utilize so many combos, especially in this game. And the purpose of using a longsword is to do as much damage as possible in an amount of you know, a few seconds you can. So although the overhead slash is good, what is even better is your 3-jab combo with by pressing circle or B on the Xbox controller. But you could also mix this up a bit, you know, overhead slash, rising slash. It really depends. But the point of knowing all this and why there's some certain freeze frames, which I'll talk about, is really to know how to use your foresight counter. When to use your foresight slash or counter on certain situations. Again, we will talk about the counter stuff and all this later on, but I just want to show you guys like the simple controls, which is just, you know, when you're not utilizing your spirit gauge, what you're typically using is triangle and circle. And then also, if you press triangle and circle at the same time, you do a fade slash, which helps you, like reposition well. Now I do use this sometimes in, you know, I use this in the older games like World and Rise, but now since this this game is really mobile with the longsword, and how you're very smooth with the longsword and you're able to flow nicely with it. Your character actually has some footwork going on every time you're fighting the monster when you're using the spirit blade. So that helps me position a little bit better, or not really better, but it helps me do damage and positions better against the monster, and helps me where I need to be at time to time. I mean, it's not the most reliable thing, which we'll talk about all this like later about positioning and all that, just showing you the simple controls. But as you see here under my sharpness, which is my sharpness is located under the stamina bar, there is another gauge right under the sharpness bar, which is the spirit gauge. You probably noticed it as I was hitting the training dummy, and the yellow bar increases. And this is one of the most important things that you want to use when you are using the longsword, because there is a way to level this gauge up, and the higher the gauge is, which you go up to a red bar, which is the max, the more damage you're able to do. So it's not just about sharpness with this weapon, it's also about increasing the gauge, which doubles the... So the sharpness along with this gauge really helps doubling its damage. So it is a true DPS weapon to use. Again, to me, it's just a good all-around weapon once you know how to utilize. I never really dropped this longsword after so many games. So at this point, which is why I'm making this like quote-unquote simple guide. So sorry if the video might drag out, but I guess there's no easy way on explaining how this functions, right? So let's increase our yellow bar. So once we increase it, we're able to press R2, and I think for 4 or 5 hits, you're able to do... for 4 hits, you're able to do a whole combo using the spirit gauge. But every time you do use it, I'll get about the special sheath. You're like, oh, what is that? What is that? What is this anime pose that you got going on? We'll talk about that later. That's basically one of the other counters to use, but you could also use it as a passive moveset. So let's increase it again, right? So the purpose of using the Spirit Slash, because it's not only just for having more damage, because you do more damage using the Spirit Slash by pressing R2, but it's also a way on the Spirit Round Slash, which is the final hit. It's a way to increase the level gauge of your Spirit gauge. I'll talk about that later. So as you see, we're on the white level, which is like level 1. Let's just call it level 1. You'll know because your sword is white. It's glowing white. So let's go to the yellow one, which is level 2. And as you see, it's like glowing yellow or gold. So let's go to red. Right now the spirit slashes look slow because I'm showing it slowly to you guys, step by step. I'm not showing like my true rotations just yet. I'm like fighting myself not to do like my proper rotations. So we're finally on red, right? This is the main purpose on why you want to put your spirit gauge on red, is because your sword is on max damage. But even your passive, this is just triangle. Your passive moves now are, you could have all these moves now on red. It is insane, and you can mix it up, you could be creative, you can move around. It's one of the most best feelings that you could have with the longsword in here. So as you see there, if you're paying attention to the red gauge, I did a round slash, right? And I was able to actually increase the red gauge again. Well, only on the first time. I couldn't do it again. I couldn't show it again. But typically, when you hit the Crimson Slash, right? When you hit the Crimson Slash, I can't put it up anymore, so I have to, let's just wait till it goes yellow again. So once you hit the Crimson Slash, because you could do another follow-up after the Spirit Slash, the Spirit Round Slash. This might sound a little bit confusing to you guys because, you know, this is all like muscle memory at this point for me. So this is the Crimson Slash, right? And you're able to actually, when you're on red, you're able to do a follow-up after the Spirit Round Slash. Everything on red, you just have more additional movesets for your passive. So you do much more slashes by just pressing triangle with the Crimson Slash. But here now, when you do the Spirit Blade, right, after the Round Slash, you could do another follow-up, and it increases a little bit back up to red because you can't keep this red gauge as it's on a timer, right? So this is, when you're on red, this is your opportunity to capitalize on the monster and do as much damage as you can when you're on red. It's literally your opportunity, and after that, you go back to yellow, which is very, very unfortunate, which is completely fine because you know why? It's so easy to gain back your levels for your spirit gauge, because when you hold R2, and they decide to add this for wilds. I mean, this isn't really a new skill from the series or for the longsword, but they decided to add it as a passive because typically it was never a passive in the previous games. When you hold R2, you have a spirit charge, and then you're able to do a whole Spirit Round Slash, and also increases your spirit gauge. And then once you have that, you're back to red again. Well, I mean, when you're on yellow, but you could keep doing that. You keep doing that and doing that over and over again. And this move is very useful. The Spirit Blade is very useful to regain momentum in hunts, because you're gonna have times in this game where you're not going to be increasing your spirit gauge because of how fast some monsters are, or maybe you're just not having a good hunt. I mean, the only con about the spirit gauge is that you do lose stamina. As you see here, my stamina is going down when I'm charging it. But the thing is, like, it is literally a free level up for you to be back into the fight. Again, it's very useful, especially for newcomers who are having a hard time gaining that momentum, and also a way to quickly upgrade your spirit gauges to do counters. So if you're struggling on doing counters, or you're just struggling in general increasing that spirit gauge, you have the Spirit Blade charge in order to get you back in the fight to have red. But another alternative, if the Spirit Blade is not really for you, or you just forget about it, one of my favorite ones is actually the Special Sheath. And we'll wait right after the red gauge it gets depleted, because once you hit the Eye Slash, well, at least with one of the passives or the movesets, this is not really the Eye Slash. This is the Eye Slash here. The Eye Spirit Slash, that's what they call it. I just still call it the Eye Slash. So you have this whole anime counter, and that is one of the I guess you say it's a little bit of a difficult counter to do in this game particularly. I personally have been struggling to hit this, but this is somewhat of they made this into a risk reward counter, because if you want to do big damage in one hit, doing the Eye Slash is one of the most efficient things to do in this game, but it is sometimes also very hard to hit with it compared to the previous games. It's now like, personally for me, like, especially if I'm saying it to a newcomer, this is actually the most ideal counter to hit, the Foresight Slash, which is just R2 and circle, but it only initiates after you initiate a swing. See? Which is why it's important to understand these frames, these freeze frames, or these poses, these stances for your character, because you could always hit any counter you can. See? A jab. See, the jab is so important because you can immediately Foresight Slash. The jab is important because you could Eye Slash, right? And if you have Quick Sheath level 3, because typically this is very slow to do, but if you have Quick Sheath level 3 as one of your skills, or if you stack it, I mean, very fast to sheath, and then you counter, which I will show. But what's really unique about special sheath, especially if you want to gain your spirit gauge passively, is here. Hit the special sheath, just press triangle, and you're a gaining. And you'll passively gain as you're swinging your weapon, as you're using your spirit blade. It's one of the most ideal things to use. I don't even use the spirit charge because I completely forget about it. I mean, you should still use it. Don't be like me. I just played this longsword as how I was taught in World and also in GU. So yeah, like that's pretty much how I operate with the longsword. But for newcomers, the spirit charge is right there for you. But again, the other way to gain like momentum and also gain your spirit gauge, and if you want to keep using the spirit slashes because they do more damage than the regular attacks, is to hit like this, using special shift and then hit with the eye slash by just pressing triangle. It helps you really combo correctly. See how like you just passively gain so much yellow gauge within a short amount of time without doing anything? And then it gets even better when you're actually properly hitting the monster. So again, you see how fast I go back to red. Now I know I didn't start out from level 1 or whatever, but the point is to maintain your movesets and to maintain your damage with this weapon. And if you don't, you might struggle with this weapon. This weapon is really a momentum weapon. It's one of the most traditional weapons because you really be dancing with the monster. You're understanding the fight, you're flowing with the monster and how things are working with. Oh yeah, since we have focus mode, I do want to showcase my focus mode to you guys as well. I think this is really important to know because this also helps you increase your spirit gauge. So we press L2 to aim, right? You guys already know about this. This is a new mechanic in Wilds. And if you jab pressing R1, you'll initiate your focus strike ability, and this helps you gain, depending on how many wounds you hit, you will gain basically up to red. So let's just say you're on level 0 with the spirit blade, but then you hit a focus attack on the monster and you're able to actually hit all 3, you will gain red instantly, and you do so much damage with the focus strike. You hit 1, you level up 1, you hit 2, you level up to 2 times, you hit 3, you level up 3 times. But since, you know, we're only on yellow, we're only going to level up 1 time, but you're still able to get all wounds as possible when you hit in 1 focus strike sometimes. So let's see if we could get this. So see, we got 2. So we got 2 all in one strike. But I think it's more ideal when you save wounds with this weapon, and that is sort of hard to do because this weapon is really, it does so many sweeps. This weapon is somewhat of a AoE weapon because of the hitbox and reach it does. It does so many sweeps, right? With this weapon, it's very important to be careful because hitting certain wounds or saving certain wounds will help you in the fight, because there are moments where you don't want to really build up to gain to red again, so just hitting the wound will help a lot. Or yeah, if you really want to do big damage, yeah, like hitting all the wounds will stagger the enemy. So you pick and choose how you want to fight the monster. You know, I think the wound system and how the longsword is operated, I think is one of the most tactical approaches for this weapon. I personally, like, I go crazy with this weapon considering how I'm experienced. But if I were a newcomer, I would save the wounds so that you guys wouldn't have a hard time building up to where you need to be at. Save the wounds, just hit 1 by 1 or hit as however much to get to red, so that you're able to do much more efficient damage. We're gonna go on with the counters because that is one of the most important things in this game, is the counters, or I mean like for this weapon, because this is the bread and butter of the longsword, and this is how you're easily increasing your spirit gauge level, and it's also doing efficient damage. I'm gonna reset the spirit gauge to white, and we're gonna turn on the training dummy. Now the training dummy is kind of weird. I would rather just fight a monster and show you guys how to counter. But by the end of this guide, I will show a hunt, and I'll do this hunt live. So we're going to do one of the most easiest counters to do, which is the Foresight Slash. The Foresight Slash is one of the most forgiving counters because you don't have to always be immediate. You could actually like kind of counter early with a Foresight Slash. Again, it's the most forgiving slash compared to the special sheath counter or the eye slash, which is this. So let's do the foresight counter. Okay, I messed that one up. So you follow up by pressing R2 again to do your spirit round slash in order to gain a level. So again, like I said, it is forgiving on... I know I messed up the first time. Again, this is weird on with its timing. It is very forgiving. See, I can never get this right. It is very forgiving, ow, on when you counter. See, look, I did that pretty late, but that still counted. And every time you hit successfully, and you'll know because your screen kind of flashes, and you'll hear like a ding on your character. And it does change. You do like a flip now. And you're able to do more counters when you're on red. And see, this is where I mean, once you have the momentum and rhythm, it actually, this longsword becomes a whole rhythm, or a rhythm game. Ironically, when we have the, what do you call it? The hunting horn? But yeah, this is where I mean, where once you get in the flow of things, the longsword is really, really good once you understand it. The purpose is always get to red, and also knowing how to counter will help a lot. You also do efficient damage every time you do the counter. It's also your defense. You could literally counter anything. A projectile, AoEs, not so much. In the older games, yeah, but you could pretty much counter everything. You could counter a roar, you could counter, I think, tremors, you could counter yourself being stunned, which is like from roars or whatever, but projectiles, you could counter through that, and there's different ways to approach the counter. Typically, as you see how I countered, you saw how like like when I was being patient. This is where I mean knowing your stances is important, because you want to keep track of when you're gonna counter, because it's not something where you could just spam. That's why circle's so safe to press, because you hit for a decent amount of time, but it's also the fact that you are able to counter. There you go. You're able to counter on time still. So pressing circle makes your animations a little bit more forgiving. And it also helps you get back into the groove of things. Then compared to pressing a overhead strike. Here, let me go back to yellow. Just to showcase how slow overhead is when you're trying to initiate a foresight slash, because foresight slash is actually very important. See, look, I couldn't even counter. Wait, hold up. See, notice how I was able to jab 2 times and then counter. Well, here I wasn't able to, but see, with overhead, sometimes you're not gonna. Wow, I actually got stunned from that. They really knocked my character out. So although overhead slash, although overhead slash could be convenient to you guys, it is hard to initiate the. See, it is hard to like counter a lot of scenarios where you're not able to react on your input properly. You would really have to be a little bit more patient on overhead slashes compared to a thrust. See, look, I could be more prepared, but I could also be forgiven as well. See, that's why doing the thrust is very important, especially moments where you're expecting let's say a monster's about to charge at you, and you want to do a foresight slash. You never want to do an overhead because of how of how long it is, because when you're fighting a monster today, they are fast sometimes, and doing an overhead is not going to help you foresight slash immediately. So if you want to foresight slash immediately, thrust, and then R2 circle for the foresight slash. But let me show you guys the eye slash, which is, I'll show you why it's a kind of a risk as well to use this. See, I was kind of forgiven on that, but it is a hard thing to counter. Like, when we're in actual hunts, see, you do so much damage. I did like, yeah, I did, let's see. So I did about like 400, right? 400, 500 total on that one slash. It is very rewarding to hit these slashes because you do so much damage in one hit, but they are hard to hit. I don't know why, like, in this game I have a hard time hitting it. I don't know if it's just because of the performance of the game and how the hitboxes work, or if it's they really made it a counter where you're able to be rewarded. There's a big risk and reward to that, because the previous game on Rise, you're able to do that like very efficiently. You don't really want to foresight slash in Rise, but foresight slash was very popular in World, then eye slash. But and here, I guess eye slash is somewhat popular because you do big damage, but there is again a risk to it compared to the previous modern Monster Hunter games. But I typically don't usually hit these, but you do good damage on it, and these are actually really convenient when a monster is charging at you, or if you're about to be hit by a projectile. Again, foresight slash will help you a lot of the time, but if you're trying to go forward and lunge forward, yes, it's better to counter with eye slash. So again, knowing these counters are very, very important, considering how this is the bread and butter for the longsword, and it's also the fact that this helps you do more damage and helps you raise the spirit gauge. Before like we go onto a hunt, another thing I do want to show you guys is this moveset. I forgot to mention this. I mean, it's not as like very important. I'm trying to remember. I'm really trying to remember because I actually forgot. Oh, there we go. So after fade slash, and then there you go. It's just pressing R2 again, right? There you go. So that's just one of the combos I used to do. I don't use it as much often unless it's necessary. But another one is your air attacks. So there is a little bit of air combat with each weapon, and longsword does have one. One of the most convenient ones I use is when you're about to jump on a monster or you're about to hop off from your sacred, you just press R2. And you do so much combos already as you're landing. On your first try, you're most likely gonna mount the monster like immediately. But these really help. You know, doing these hits a lot, it's a good opener as well to do that. Just wanted to show that. Very convenient when you're trying to mount the monster, or like if you're hopping off your sacred. That's one of the main things that I like using. You do have another air attack, I forgot to show that, which is triangle. Again, it's not something I really use a lot. You know, you do like okay damage, but this is more of a precise landing that you want to do, and again, you don't do as much. So and you could, even though you don't have a spirit gauge, you do need like some of the it doesn't matter what level you are, as long as your spirit gauge is leveled up, right? As long as it's leveled up, you could hit this combo. And you obviously do more when you're on red because of your crimson combos that you're initiating. But this is much more important compared to you just hitting this jumping slash. I would rather you guys hit the combo, and where you're most likely to mount, than just hitting this. So again, the point is having the most probability on you mounting the monster. Even though it's not like the Crimson Slash where you're doing so many combos in the air, doing these 2 swings is better than 1. And obviously when you land, it's much more ideal Oh, you saw that? You saw how I like wall run off the cliff? Having your spirit gauge full to initiate a full combo is much more ideal as well, so that you could upgrade easily to whatever level you need to be. So there's actually another one. You have a counter from your sacred. This longsword actually has another counter, which is the dismount attack. Now I didn't know this until like I realized I actually hit a counter when I was early on in my playthrough when I did a dismount attack. It was just lucky timing, but it pretty much operates as a round/hit. But I typically don't like using this just because you're not really gonna mount the monster like that. Oh, I see. Okay, so there's no need to do a follow-up attack because I was not aware. Because I don't usually use this attack, but you gain a level after countering that. So that's pretty cool to know. If you want to be flashy, or if there are moments where you're charging at the monster and it's about to do an attack, yes, I guess this is useful. I typically don't use this. Again, oh, ow. You don't have to use this. Again, I still recommend you using the spirit combo in the air to mount the monster. But yeah, like, I mean, it's, again, what's great about this weapon is the amount of combos that you can do for Wilds. Like, the amount of passive things that you can do with this longsword in Wilds is more than base game World and even base game, like, Rise. So, or, I mean, even also Iceborne, I think, as well. This is why this longsword is my favorite iteration of the modern Monster Hunter titles, because yeah, like, it's just fun to use overall. So I'm a complete idiot. I forgot one of the most important things for this guide is releasing your red spirit gauge. There is a way to do that where you do so much damage. So as you see, as your gauge is slowly going down, there's an ideal timing to release your gauge, right? Because you want to always do damage with your red gauge, right? You want to capitalize on the situation. As you see, we're about to like waste it, right? When you press R2 and triangle, you go up in the air, press R2 again, you do a whole release slash. So you land with the Spirit Helm Breaker, right? So let's actually do that again. You land with the Spirit Helm Breaker, and then you follow up with another R2, or I think also triangle. Just do R2 for safety reasons. And you do so much big damage. So much. You do thousands of damage, depending on your build. And that is the most important thing to utilize. Now, when you do the follow-up, you go back to level 1, right? Instead of going back to yellow. Which makes sense since you did a follow-up release. But the thing is, it is so important to know the timing of this longsword, just because of that move itself, right? If you're really optimizing your damage, because timing is so important with this weapon, right? You're hammering on the monster, and you're continuing to hammer it down, and as you see, your gauge is slowly going back to yellow. You want to, well, let's sharpen before we actually go to yellow, right? So I can show you my max damage. You always want to release it. R2 triangle right before it goes to yellow. You can land and do a follow-up by pressing R2. Now you could actually, because there are moments, sometimes people make mistakes, right? This is actually new for Wilds. People make mistakes, and sometimes they accidentally engage into this animation, right, with the Spirit Thrust. You could cancel it by just pressing X. Just that easy. This is exclusive to only in this game. See? I just press X to cancel. Maybe there's another button to cancel, but I just press X. So you could cancel out of the Spirit Helm. The Spirit Helm Breaker. So that's very interesting of like why they added that, for the reasoning on why they added it, because they never did that in the previous games. Also, you could commit to this, right? But you don't have to do the follow-up either. So you just go to yellow. Now you don't do as much damage, but at least whatever reason that you want. Oh, you saw that? I was able to pierce through that wound from the other side. But yeah, for whatever reason, yeah, you don't have to do that follow-up where you end up back at level 1. It's just for strategy reasons. So that's what I wanted to showcase. I also want to let you guys know, when you initiate the Spirit Thrust, and also when you do the release, within those frames, you have super armor. So I hope you have enough health, because you could tank these monsters if they're doing a crazy attack on you. You're able to actually do all that DPS while tanking it. Now, it is a risk. It is a big risk, right? They added this whole risk-reward system with the longsword, but you do have super armor, and you don't flinch, unless there are certain reasons. Sometimes there are certain cases where you will on certain movesets, but most of the time, you're able to not flinch and take on the damage, or do your damage. Like it was insane that I was very impressed how I was able to tank and do all these damages. Again, it's a risk, but it's so satisfying and cool to do. It's a very flashy weapon. Yeah, I think that's what I all need to show you guys. And now, let's get on with the hunt. So I'll do my best to play good, but to be honest, I'm not as warmed up since I've been in the training room trying to teach you guys how to use this sword. But let's see. Let's see if I can. Let's also stock up on some potions and everything before we go into our hunt. So let's see if we could find a tempered Arkveld in the Windward Plains. I like fighting tempered. Well, there's a regular Arkveld. Should I showcase you guys a regular Arkveld? Tempered. Oh, there's a tempered Mizutsune. I mean, I don't mind. Hopefully you guys don't mind about tempered Mizutsune. I know some people have a hard time with Mizutsune. So let's just showcase that. I don't mind showcasing tempered Mizutsune. So we'll use my voucher. And we're... okay. I was checking... I don't have any investigation quests for tempered Arkveld in the Windward Plains, because fighting the Ice Shard Cliffs and also Forest, it gets a little compact with Arkveld, considering how much crazy AoEs and hitboxes and reach he does to you. Same with Gore Magala, and there's probably another monster I'm missing out on. But Mizutsune is a okay monster in this forest. Well, I guess it depends what zone, but I do want to do my best to showcase like how the movesets work with you guys, or I mean with this longsword. And so this is actually somewhat of a big Mizutsune. Oh my goodness. There we go. See, I should have done a follow-up. I didn't expect my longsword to hit the tail like that. But yes, you could counter the roar. You could counter anything. I'm not even kidding when I say that. So practice on countering every single thing a monster can do to you. This is actually somewhat tech for using like the dead bodies or the corpse, or even like the extra. Oh, there. That's what I mean too. Where I say just swing by using R2 when you dismount from your sacred. But yeah, like that's some tech as well, that you could build up your spirit gauge by hitting a corpse of like a little monster, or even if it's still alive, you could just use it so you're able to build up your gauge much quickly than usual. See how forgiving the Foresight is? Oh, see, I couldn't hit that Eye Slash for whatever reason. I guess the hitbox hit me that quick. It hit me first. I'm trying to get the tail. So with Longsword, what's also really important about this weapon is that it is the best weapon to use when you're going for a tail. Usually, oh, it's about to be Soul Seer. the longsword is one of the best weapons to like just cut anything. It's a good part breaker for weapons. I mean, for monsters that are super effective towards severing type weapons. Because there's not actually a lot of armored enemies in this game. Oh, I got lucky on there. Sometimes the focus strike, it is a little bit weird. I think it's like that for a lot of weapons. I'm sad I didn't showcase an Ice Slash yet. I don't think I will. Yeah, when you're in the air, you see how I was able to tank that? When you're in the air, they can anti-air you. They could hit you off the air, but when you're initiating the thrust and when you just landed, you do have super armor, so sorry if I'm quiet. I might lock in for this one. He almost killed me. I risked that. It is just a way for you guys to show you guys how strong the longsword is with its super armor. I mean, you definitely need the defense for it. I mean, I am at end game, so. Dude, that really scared me. That's a one-shot attack, by the way. So. Yeah, it is hard to Ice Slash this monster particularly. Got out to the evasion mantle, that's why I was able to jump like that. Oh my god. Ooh, see? I almost died. Got very lucky. I think my food buff saved me. I think Defender kicked in. Yeah, I would have died, basically. I mean, I messed up. I wasn't supposed to use an attack. Oh, there we go, Ice Slash. And you see, knocked down on its feet, even though I didn't hit the weak part. Oh, that was close. I was scared. I was like, I can't read its move right now. This is a very scary monster right now. And it's not going on the trap. I feel like I can bring my luring pod. This tail has a lot of HP. I should have put a wound on it. Oh, I think I did. Yeah, sometimes when you do a focus thrust, you are able to weaken and give a probability on the monster's skin and put a wound on it. Even if so, with tempered monsters, like when you see scratches, you're able to wound them easily. But even that applies also to oh my god, to even regular monsters. See how I'm able to just quick sheep back? Oh. Man, I can't read its attacks. It's very fast. So this is actually one of the problems with longsword. If you're trying to learn it, you have to actually know how to know. Oh. You have to know all. Dude, I'm trying to just use my no berry. Yeah, I kind of won in this zone.
Leave this to me. Heels inbound.
But that's, again, one of the problems with this weapon if you're currently trying to learn it, is that you have to actually know the moveset for majority of the monsters, so you know when to predict and how to counter. When it's a new monster and you're unaware of it and it does all these type of hits, it will really punish you. See? I fell for it. I fell for that delay. I'm actually doing really bad in this hunt. Oh, it did a follow-up. Wow.
Let's cleanse that status.
Shout out to Free Meal. Oh my god, dude, it does so much attacks. This one's actually a hard one. Okay. It's finally not enraged. There we go, we got the tail. Look how fluffy it is though, it's so detailed. Oh, it's back in Soul Seer mode. You see, that overhead slash is so useful when you just bonk it on its head. It did like a little stun to it. Oh my god, I did it out of nowhere. Yeah, it's a very fast monster. Try to do a counter. Man, I already ran out of potions just like that. At least you guys get to see this. Woo! Gotta love that anime finish. Before he gets up, let's hit the wound. Sometimes, yeah. Oh, there we go. We got the stun. Oh my god, it doesn't stop. We could actually stop this one.
Watch out!
Perfect. See how I'm able to move while swinging my sword too? While using the spirit? What? He's moving again? Oh my god. What? Where'd he go? There's a Rathian here too, bro. Oh, this is fantastic. Wait, hold up. I don't know, they're looking at me. Okay. I know, Rathian just woke up, unfortunately. Sorry, Rathian. Oh.
Looks like it's moving to a new area.
Oh, actually, it hit Mizutsune. Oh my god. I can't. I see. That's the thing too. You live and learn with a longsword. Oh my god! I didn't get my heal. I thought I knew. I thought I understood that timing, but I didn't. This one doesn't want to give up. This has a lot of health. Then again, it did have momentum in this fight. There we go. Whew, that was actually a tough fight for someone who's trying to showcase the moves, right? Well, at least this was like an authentic hunt, right? This is, because this is the build I normally use, and I'm aware that this wasn't the best hunt. I have clearly way better hunts in my streams. Feel free to check them out and stop by. But I hope guys, this really helped a lot. I forgot to carve the tail, but whatever. I hope this helped a lot on you guys knowing how to utilize a longsword. Now that was 14 minutes. It's because I sort of, again, warming up. I could have played way better. 100%. Like, I typically average with temper monsters under 10 minutes. But this Mizutsune was actually giving me a hard time, and it was moving quick. But I hope I show you guys a lot of the ins and outs of this longsword, because that is the point of showcasing these type of these hunts, the gameplay, is so that you guys have a gist of what longsword can be. You could obviously be better than me. This hunt was not it. Once you understand longsword, it is one of the funnest weapons to use. I never really dropped the weapon at all. It's always been my main weapon since World. And since I have the time, I'm branching out to like newer weapons and everything. Like in my previous stream, I was using lands, and I had so much fun with that, using the shield and the counter attacks and parrying. So it's been fun. But alright, y'all. Remember to drop a like and subscribe for more Monster Hunter content. Feel free to stop by the streams whenever I stream Monster Hunter. I'm very excited for the Raid Owl quest, the quest line for whatchamacallit, his arc tempered variant. So I'm very excited to see that, and the skills, his armor set, and see if he's gonna be meta. Very excited, and see the new challenge for Wilds, because the the tempered Mizutsune and Gormagala, and sometimes even Arkveld, they really give me a hard time in this game, but they should, because they are the flagship monsters from the previous games and also the current game. So I'm happy about that. Even Zoshia is fun to fight, and Zoshia does give some trouble. Sorry if I couldn't play my best, but at least you guys know how the longsword works. I clearly needed more warm-ups for me to really showcase it to you guys, but thank you again. Alright, y'all. Y'all have a good one. Peace. Have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Hopefully this guide video helps. It's been a while since I made a guide video, so dropping a like will really help out a lot. Remember to subscribe to the channel to follow me on more of this sort of stuff. And alright, I'm out. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.